Yeah.
But the people were very friendly.
Oh yes,
Basically at that time.
you surely were.
And they still are today. We've still had quite a relationship with them, even though
True.
through our Korean and the Vietnam conflicts, we were on the edge a few times with them.
Right.
That was interesting. Would you go back to China?
I have no craving, strong desire to go back.
You think you've seen it?
I've seen it.
You probably have seen it at a great time, too.
Yeah.
It was just at the changeover period of time in their history.
Sure.
Where else did you go? Any other places you'd like to make note of that you traveled, that you found fascinating in the world?
Oh, I've been to, I guess I would comment on Spain, because Spain is my favorite country.
It is.
It is. It really is.
What did you like about Spain?
I could see myself going back there. I think the thing that did for Patty and I was that we went into Madrid and rented a car, and we were in with the people. Patty has a good speaking of Spanish. She speaks Spanish well. As they say in Spanish, Bill, I'm poco y poco. a little Spanish, but when you do that, when you get in amongst the people, you learn things. And what we learned, this was in the days of Franco, was that there was no question that even though the Civil Guard, which were his troops, if you will, were visible, not ostentatious, but they were visible, the people wanted their monarchy back. They wanted royalty. There was absolutely no doubt. And in fact, there's a funny little story in our family. We, through for good fortune, we got into a winery, the Gonzales Baez winery, and as we were being toured, we went into this one room where there were these wine casks with royal crests on them. And then over on one side was this cask with no crest on it. And my wife said to the guide, "And what is that cask?" And the guide says, "Well, that's Generalissimo Franco." And Patty said, "Well, why isn't his cask over in with the others?" To which he said with disdain, "Madam, he is not royalty." So there was another example, Bill.
I see.
Yeah, and in that winery they had what? Mice that were trained. You know, the fellows that worked in the winery had the mice trained, going up and down ladders.
Right?
Yeah, it was fun. But as I say, basically, and I recommend it to anybody, wherever they travel, get in with the people. These, you know, I'm not trying to say that a tour is good if you just want to get a quick overview to decide where you would want to go back to. But you see where I'm leading?
Right.
My recommendation is, just like with our own country, you know, people get on these RVs, recreational vehicles, for those that don't know what RV stands for, and they tour the United States, and you know, they do it leisurely, and they get in with the people.
Right.
And
Well, that's the best way. If you could go and live in each country for a period of months,
oh,
that'd be something.
it'd be superb.
Expensive, but it would be nice.
Right. Well, depends. Maybe not so expensive.
Well, after the service, what jobs did you hold?
When I came out of the service, I joined United Airlines, and that was in 1946. And I remained with United Airlines until 1981. My last 16 years were here at Logan Airport, which is familiar to our viewers, I'm sure. I saw lots of construction. I mean, it goes back to the days when there were mini terminals, if you will. There were little buildings, and now you've got the super terminals.
Well, has there been some flight blood in your family? Didn't you once work for Brewster Aircraft?
Yeah, you got a good memory, Bill.
Well, you did my homework.
Yeah, right. Yeah, that was prior to my going in the service. I did work for Brewster Aircraft, and for those that are interested in aviation, what Brewster had built was called the Brewster Buffalo. And thanks to the Brewster Buffalo, Even though we took a pretty severe licking at Guadalcanal, the Brewster Buffalo was so highly maneuverable, it helped to, shall we say, hold the Japs at bay till we got our act back together after Pearl Harbor.
Right?
Yeah.
Well, you don't hear that.
No, no, you
That's
don't.
interesting. Well, your father was also interested, too, in planes,
Oh,
wasn't he?
yeah. My dad was flying with Clarence Chamberlain, Ruth Nichols, some of the old, they called themselves the QBs, Quiet Birdmen. I think Lindbergh was one of them. I know the first ride I can recall was in a Blanca, and then he flew Curtiss Condors, and of course a lot of people who know aviation relate to the Ford Trimotor. So yeah, this
So it's kind of in your blood is that you ended up at United Airlines.
Yeah,
huh?
really.
What was your job there?
Well, I started off in the reservations department, and then went out to Colorado and became part of the what they call the operating base. It was the center, center of communications, the center of just operating the airline on a day-to-day basis. Then came back to what was then Idlewild, was over at LaGuardia Airport in charge of passenger service for many years, then went back to what now had become Kennedy, and then in 1964, by choice, came to Boston and was the second in command for United Airlines here at Logan.
You enjoyed that, didn't you?
I did, very much.
You miss it?
I do, because I enjoy people, and I enjoy working with the public and seeing problems to a satisfactory conclusion.
Were you somewhat like a troubleshooter?
Well,
or communications at the same time?
Yeah. What would happen, Bill, is you'd have the agents dealing directly with the public, and then if it got to be a sticky wicket, the supervisor was there to step in and try to, get the thing resolved. If that didn't work, then that's when they called me into the act, so to speak.
What were some of the most interesting people that you met at United Airlines that were travelers?
I remember one, Bill, where I got a call from Vice President telling me that Maria Callas, the opera star and friend, if you will, of Ari Onassis, was going out on a flight. She had previously been approved by this Vice President to take a dog on board the aircraft. And just like President Roosevelt's Fowler, which created a big media blitz, if you will, during World War II, this dog got worldwide coverage. And he said, whatever you do, don't let that dog get on the airplane. And I don't want to be involved. So I just told the supervisor, let me know when Miss Callis checks in, and I went down, and they introduced me, and I said I would like to see the dog that was going in the kennel, and of course her reaction was, her dog wasn't going to go in the kennel. But what you find is when you're dealing with that kind of a situation, if you take, the best defense is a good offense.
Right.
So I just said, well, we have a kennel in the other room, and I'll be more than happy to escort you in, and you can put the dog in the kennel, and I'll even go further than that. I'll allow you out on the ramp. I'll escort you out on the ramp. You can watch it loaded on the aircraft. I'll call my counterpart. In this case, it was Cleveland, and you can be the first one off the aircraft. Well, the long and the short of it, Phil, was that she didn't know what to say. I just kind of stole her thunder. So that was an interesting interlude. We had...
she was adamant, I'm sure, that she really wanted the dog with her.
Yes, she did. She surely did. But, I did explain to her that other than a seeing eye dog, obviously, all you'd have is an aircraft full of animals and people.
Right.
And I don't think that would be too good a mix. Then there was